Hello, everyone. This is Thomas Pepin NHL Talk. I'm Thomas Pepin, and let's talk about the NHL. So, as per normal, doing a recap of recent news as well as the results. In this case, of the Stanley Cup Final. Should first pause and say thank you to Maze for tuning in. And yeah, we'll talk about that trade in a bit. Um, Yeah, so usual steps. If you take a look at the description, it'll show you what we're going to go over. And yeah, I guess let's just get into it. Is that the right one? Okay. Oh, whoops, wrong order. Oh, and I forgot something else. Give me one quick sec. One sec. Actually, I forgot two things. Wait, one of them I don't need to pull up. Because I was going to pull up my predictions, but we've already seen all those, and then it was only one series to predict at the end. So okay, now I think I have everything. Okay, so first piece of news. So according to the what's his title? Deputy Commissioner. Bill Daly. There's interest from general managers to tweak the LTIR rules for the playoffs. What exactly did they comment on? Yeah, exactly. So until the next bargaining agreement, that it would be unlikely. I think that they would make adjustments, and I don't know when the bargaining agreement ends. Ratify CBA extension through to 25-26. So until after that point, probably. I don't know if there's options to extend again after that point. I don't know those details, but I'm assuming not, just from this little short description. But in any case, so it doesn't seem like there's going to be any changes until that point, unless there's major concerns from the GMs where it needs to get done. But it has to get through the players too, I'm sure. So I just don't see anything happening. But nonetheless, clearly there's at least a desire from a bunch of GMs to change the rules. So we'll see what happens. And yeah, in particular, Vegas is that team that everybody's like, how on earth do you fit everybody under the cap, given all the contracts and all that stuff? So anyways, so we'll see what happens there, but it looks like that's a long-term thing to monitor, and it's something kind of we already knew by now. But I think the piece of news of it is that it seems like there's enough of an interest from GMs for it to be something potentially negotiated into the next CBA. So anyways, that's that. Not much more to say than the title gives us information. So 88 million is the cap for next season. Not much more to say than that. Oh, cap floor 65 million, but there we go. Nill wins second straight GM of the Year award. Good for him. Again, not much more to say than that. And when I looked through the nominees, I think I argued that it should have been the Panthers GM, but um, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I said. And then, yeah, that he won. I mean, nonetheless, Dallas still did a good job, so it's not like I have anything against him winning. So, anyways, that's that. Brad Larsen's going to be assistant coach for the Flames after having been fired from the Blue Jackets. And didn't coach last year. Again, not really much to say. So, given that he was previously a head coach, you would think that they have some decent knowledge. To be an assistant coach is, I would argue, a positive thing. You'd want, obviously a good head coach, and then I would say what would be smart is an experienced guy as assistant coach. So I'm all for trying some young guy as head coach. I think where you really want to stabilize everything is the assistant coaches. So anyways, I always like seeing experienced guys come in as assistant coaches. Track record as head coach, not that good in the NHL, but pretty decent in the AHL. So, anyways, for what that's worth, who's the head coach in Calgary right now? Oh, Huska? Yeah. Dan Lambert. Kale McLean. Anyways, doesn't look that promising in Calgary, no offense. This thing I thought was very interesting. The Capitals are going to be buying Cap Friendly's website. I don't know if I commented on this last news stream. It was in talks, but I think it was just a rumor, and I forget if for that, because I don't talk about rumors even when like there's reports that something's going to happen. Because for example, there's some recent ones like about Truba and being potentially traded, and Suter being bought out from Dallas. And so yeah, until it's official, I don't like to talk about things. So in this case, I don't know if I spoke about it before, but it's just interesting. So they're going to use it for its in-house hockey operations department. Now, I don't know if they're going to still make it available for the public, or if it's going to be paid, or what's going to happen. Really, I'm interested to see what's going to happen, because for me it's such an important website to use. So, and what I could say is it could be wise because I think there's other competing websites. I don't know if they're any good, but it would be wise if somebody wanted to create a direct competitor of the website. Now would be the right time, in case this one goes dark and it's not available to the public. So anyways, just a thought, because, well, my background's in business consulting and stuff, and so this is something that immediately came to mind right away. You would want to have a very competitive website just in case this one disappears, and then at the very least, even if this one stays up, you're a competitor. Some people would prefer using you for different reasons. You just change user friendliness and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, kind of besides the point. But interested to see what's going to happen, because I really hope it doesn't go dark, because I really like the website. This I thought was kind of interesting. So Utah is going to be called the Utah Hockey Club. I really hate the name. They said it's temporary. But the color scheme is going to be official going forward. So I like the color scheme. It's kind of isn't Seattle's very similar? Feels like it is. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't like that in a sense, but whatever. Um, and then what they're actually going to choose officially, I'm assuming that it's going to be the following season. And you know what? I just thought about this. Um, oh, yeah, Maze, I just saw your comment there. Yeah, I wonder if it's going to go private after the draft. We'll see. So I was just thinking to do this temporary team, it's kind of smart from a business standpoint because you have this team and then this name's going to become obsolete as soon as they change it, which I'm assuming would probably be for next season, like not this coming season, but the next one after. So then you're going to get a whole new stream of jersey sales because everything's going to have changed. So, anyways, just something I thought just on the spot there. But yeah, anyways, definitely don't like the temporary name. And there's rumors that it's the Yeti is going to be the actual name, and I also don't like that. So, I don't know. We'll see. I kind of liked, I think it was Blizzard was one of the ones that Mammoth I don't like, Yeti I don't like, Outlaws don't like. Yeah, so the only one of the remaining ones was Blizzard. And it's kind of similar to the Avalanche, but I like that just to have something, I don't know, wintry. Yeti just, I don't know, I find it kind of tacky, but Mammoth, there's no such thing as mammoths anymore, so I don't know. Anyways, Outlaws doesn't make sense, Venom doesn't make sense to me, so whatever. Anyways, besides the point. Warsofsky is promoted to head coach of the Sharks. Let's just see if he has any track record. He seems young, so and like I've always said, I like the idea of trying somebody new and young. So what did he do here? He won the championship with the Chicago Wolves. Yeah, perfect example of where out of the playoffs. Is it because they didn't have playoffs that year because of COVID? I can't remember. Decent record as ECHL. And decent and actually pretty good for AHL. I like the idea. 36 years old. I think that's great. Try somebody new. I hate going back to old established coaches that are just garbage because they never win anything. What's the point in using a coach that never wins anything? I mean, you can only get one champion out of, all the teams, but it's just after like a 20, 30-year career, the guy's not winning. Like, what are you doing? Anyways, so I really like that call. Mind you, San Jose is going to be garbage anyways, so does it make any difference? No, but for him, it's great for experience. And then just in concept, I like it. So, anyways, we'll see what happens there. This I thought was great. Maybe weird to announce it. But anyways, so Steen's going to be the next general manager of the Blues after Armstrong essentially retires, I guess, is how it's going to work. Or he might be just moving on, I guess. Stay on as... Oh, so he's going to be... Yeah, so he's staying, but as president of hockey operations. So I like that. And then so you've got like this... oh, God, what's it called again? Succession planning. It's rare. It seems weird to announce it, but super smart. I like the idea. And then Steen, I don't know enough. Like, he was a smart hockey player. I don't know how he would be as a GM. You never really know until you actually see the results. But, oh shoot! And I realized I was supposed to recap the final first, and I started going through the news. See, it's always everything I do is on the spot, so sometimes I forget things. But anyways, not really much more to say than that. And actually, on that note, let's flip back to what I was supposed to start with, which is a recap of the final. So give me one sec. All right. So yeah, whoops a daisies. Yeah, I mean, there's not going to be too much to say. So, as anybody who likes the NHL at all would know, went to Game 7. Florida was up 3 games. Edmonton came back, and then 2-1 win. So, it actually went exactly as I predicted in terms of, as long as I'm remembering correctly. You can go back and check my the recap of the previous round and my predictions to make sure that I'm not lying. I'm pretty sure this is exactly what I said. So I said that all games that Florida would win, it would be close, and I was mostly right. So I had 3-0. I can't remember if there were empty net goals, but basically 2 to 3 goal difference in the result is normal given that there's probably going to be empty net goals. So 3-0, pretty close. 4-1, it's the same range, 2 to 3 goal difference. And then 4-3. So what didn't go as I expected is I thought it would be kind of... So I had a bet on Game 1 for the Oilers to blow out the Panthers. So this was just, I had free bets and stuff. So I just decided, yeah, I think Edmonton's going to come out the gate hot. And of course they didn't in this case. But what I thought and what I said in my predictions is that it would be blowouts for Edmonton games and then close games for Florida wins. And it basically was that. Like I said, all close more or less for the first 3. Oilers, I mean, it's kind of close to the 5-3 win, but 8-1, 5-1, essentially blowouts for the Oilers. So it's when they score, but when they don't, they don't. So, because if you hold the top players off the score sheet, then, I mean, like, what else? Like, they were deeper this year than previous years, but that's the thing, is if you hold their top guys off the score sheet, then there's not as much to really pull things off with. So, but anyways, coming back to what I was just about to say is that I thought it would go back and forth. I thought Edmonton was going to win Game 1, just whatever my gut said. And then it was probably going to be, would have said maybe Oilers 1, Panthers probably 2-3, Oilers 4, Panthers 5-6, or Panthers, Oilers, Panthers, something like that. Because I said it would go to, I'm pretty sure I said it would go to 6 or 7 games. I thought it would be close in terms of result, but like I said, not close in terms of game result when Edmonton would win. So anyways, so the end result was exactly as I predicted. How the sequence went wasn't, but I mean, it's, it amounts to the same anyways. So even though I wasn't like perfectly accurate, I was pretty accurate. So I had a feeling the Panthers would win from depth, and they were healthy this time around, and assuming that they were going to be healthy, they would win. So yeah, so anyways, so prediction went pretty much exactly correct. Good for the Panthers. It's cool that they win their first Stanley Cup. For the Oilers, I mean, don't put yourself in a 3-game hole. I'm sorry. Like, I know I'm Canadian, but yeah, I had an argument with a guy about, oh, you should be cheering for the Oilers. Neither of them are my team. My team's Winnipeg. So, and very often it's the case where a U.S. team will have more Canadians on it than Americans or people from anywhere. It's just where the team's located, so it doesn't matter. Oilers have won the Cup before, Panthers haven't. So, I mean, if anything, it would be nice just for the Panthers to win. Yeah, it would be a cool story to come back from 3 games after all those comebacks throughout the season, like how they started off really poorly and then came back. And so, I mean, I don't know. I just, to be honest, I didn't care necessarily if the Oilers won. If that makes me bad, then whatever. I don't care. So, yeah. I just, it was a pretty cool final to watch. Interesting games, interesting storylines, exciting. I think it was like one of the most viewed, if not the most viewed final ever, or something like that. I thought I read. I maybe should have kept that and put that in the news, but anyways. So yeah, so my prediction was basically exactly right. And yeah, not much more to say than that. Analysts and stuff have all their comments on how things went, so you can watch all that stuff and see all the highlights or whatever you want. So, anyways, back to the news now. Leafs part ways with Boucher, Guy Boucher or Guy Boucher. I don't know how you pronounce his first name. And then, yeah, they hired somebody else later. Yeah, not much more to say than that. Leafs, former Leafs assistant, hired by Jets. How do you pronounce his name? I know it's pronounced different than what it looks like, but I'm just not even going to attempt it. So, Chinawith? I don't know. How was he as a coach? Very mediocre. Even in junior. I don't know if I like it. Anyways, yeah, again, not much more to say than that. Vincent was fired as head coach of the Blue Jackets, which was obvious as soon as they got the new GM, Waddell. And yeah, it's just funny how he's like, man, he's been thrown around all over the place and kind of feels unfair, but I mean, his team was garbage, so looking at the results it's not going to tell you anything. 27-43. I mean, whatever. Maybe they should have done better. I don't know. AHL stats are kind of mediocre. QMJHL are decent, but pretty mediocre. So, anyways, I'm sure he'll find another job where, who knows, probably as an assistant, I'm sure. Or he could go and be an AHL head coach again. But anywho, Eric Tulsky is promoted to GM of the Hurricanes after Waddell left. Didn't they say interim and then they made it official? Or did they just... Yeah. I think he's a big analytics guy. Yeah, exactly. So he made a name for himself as an analytics blogger. And so, I mean, we've seen what happened with Dubas, and he's supposed to be some big analytics guy. I'm not against analytics. I actually think that they're probably going to give you enough information to make better decisions, but I don't think it's everything. Things will get better over time where the analytics are probably going to be more, make up a greater percentage of your decision making, but still don't know for certain exactly how much it would impact things at this moment. So, but anyways, good for him. We'll see what happens. Carolina has, some adjustments to make, but he's taking over a pretty stable, competitive franchise. So good for him. Um, Different scenario than Dubas, and I thought Dubas kind of screwed it up anyways. So we'll see how he does. But it's going to take like 2 to 3 years to really get a good idea of his impact. Chris Armstrong is president of hockey operations for Utah. I gotta get used to saying that name. Making Oh, so he was a player agent. Who's GM of? Oh, so Armstrong, yeah. So that's where a bit of the confusion. So Bill Armstrong is current GM, I believe. Yeah, and then I wouldn't be surprised if they get rid of him. Oh wait, because he wasn't responsible for a lot of the screw ups, was he? Actually, he's partially responsible for some of the screw ups. So, anyways, again, one of those examples of like veteran guys that shouldn't have a job or wouldn't have a job if I was in charge. Um, so, anyways, that's about it with that. Next up, we'll talk about this later actually when we go over trades and stuff, but Kings sent Dubois to the Capitals for Kemper. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Another big trade was Markstrom to New Jersey for Ball and a first, I believe only. And again, we'll look at that, I guess, more later. I was just about to pull it up. Hronik signs 8-year deal, 7.25 per. Well deserved, in my opinion, but we'll go over that in a bit. Ducks hire Clune as assistant coach. I don't recognize the guy. Does he have any track record as a coach? No. So, who knows how that's going to turn out, but good for him. And, I mean, the Ducks aren't that great of a team, so it's not bad. Again, trying somebody new, I'm totally for it. This is some crazy news. So Arizona canceled the land auction for the land that the Coyotes were going to buy or to eventually come back into the league. And then reordering the steps for I don't know. Anyways, so it sounds like they're delaying it. Who's that comment from? Oh, ASLD. Okay. Yeah, so nothing else from there, but more news later. Cogliano retires and then joins the Avalanche front office. What is he doing? Player development and scouting. Working with the AHL team. Not much more to say than that. So this is one of the new coaches for the Leafs, Savard as an assistant coach. I don't think he's served as a head coach, maybe in the AHL. I don't know for sure. OHL, yeah, so that's what it was. So he was head coach in the OHL, did quite well in Windsor. Oh, it was St. Louis. He was an assistant coach, and then comes in. Oh, and he was an assistant in Calgary too, and then comes in as an assistant in Toronto. So I think great. Good news for Toronto. I think somebody that's relatively new with a good start to his career. It's a smart pickup. So, and yeah, who is the coach? Berube? Yeah, and I like Berube, so I think he's putting together a good coaching squad. Lane Lambert is the other one. So, good decision in my opinion. So this is an interesting thing. I think this is a rumor, but it kind of makes sense. So maybe I shouldn't have covered it, but I don't know. I just feel like I should. So apparently the owner is abandoning the reactivation of the Coyotes. What else does it say here? He has no plans to pursue further arena options. So the Arizona franchise was deemed inactive. Okay, so yeah, he has until end of year 2027 to build 50% of a new arena and inform the league of intention to reactivate the franchise and have an expansion draft. Well, that's good information to know. I didn't see that or know that. He doesn't see a viable option. Interesting. So it's not official, so maybe technically I'm not supposed to cover it, but yeah, I thought it was so interesting that I had to cover it. Not much to say other than the headline here. Cooper's going to be the coach of Team Canada for Four Nations Face-Off and the Olympics. Now, I thought he was more American than he was Canadian, so that's kind of confusing. Is it because he couldn't get the American job or what? He's from BC. Where's Hofstra University? New York. Blah, blah, blah. So I guess were his parents? One of his parents American? Oh, okay. Father's from. Okay. So one's from California, one's from BC. Okay. So then basically, I guess he can kind of coach for either, but I thought. Team North America. Oh, okay. So he has been head coach of Team Canada before. I didn't know that. So anyway, so then I guess it's totally normal and expected. So that's my bad. I just could have sworn that because I knew he was like had some sort of American connection, but yeah, and I didn't know that he coached for Canada. I guess I didn't pay enough attention. Not like so. This is big news in the sense of him as a person in the NHL. but I mean, not really all that crazy of news. So Glenn Sather retires as senior advisor of the Rangers after being in the NHL for 45 years. So, yeah, very well known. And anyways, I just thought it was good to note the retirement for him. All right, so this is relatively new. So there's 4 rule changes in the coming season. So puck out of play is subject to coach's challenge as well now. I don't think it was before. It mustn't have been. In order to nullify a penalty for puck out of play. Okay. Fine. Line change following dislodged net. So the defensive team can't make a line change in the event its goaltender accidentally dislodges the net. I like that rule. It was only players before. I didn't know that was the case before with players, but I like that it's with goalies too. It's a good rule. Put them at like if they're trying to delay the game or take a break. I think it's great. After an icing, offensive center will now also receive 1 warning for face-off violation. I'm surprised they didn't have that before. So obviously that should be there. Players sitting on boards. Yeah, that's not really that big of a deal. Then the rest didn't get approved anyway, so no big deal. So anyways, just some rule changes, nothing too crazy, but brought my attention to one that existed already, and I had no idea that it existed. Claude Julien hired as assistant coach of the St. Louis Blues. Who's the head coach? Oh, and there's some other news here. Ott's promoted to associate coach. Drew Bannister. Well, I know I spoke about that before, so I guess I won't speak about it again. But Julian's experience, another one of those examples that assistant and associate coaches with a young, inexperienced head coach, I think is always wise, and so I like this idea. And I don't think Bannister is that experienced, so if I recall correctly. So I think that's great. This one was just recently announced, which is partially why the delay of the stream. There's more news that I need to add into the topics. So Holland and Oilers mutually agree not to renew contracts. So I like this because I don't think Holland did a good enough job as GM. Are they going to still have them listed? What was his first name again? Ken Holland? So he was general manager 2019. I don't know if it was before or after the season. Actually, I should check that. When did he become? May 2019. So we would have been 1920 was the season. All right, so 1920, they were 37-25, lost in qualifying round, lost in first round, lost in conference final. So it usually takes, in my opinion, like 2 to 3 years to really turn around an organization. Mind you, if you were as aggressive and crazy as me, I would try to do it immediately upon being in charge of the franchise. But in any case, so got to the conference final in third year. It's not bad. Making the playoffs in the first two, that's good. Second round, and then lost in Stanley Cup Final. So better track record than I first thought, because all his poor performances were at the start, so, and that you can't put it on him necessarily. But I didn't like the moves he made throughout his time there. Just not in, so spent too much on certain people. Sure, he spent, like, if you're going to pay people big money, Draisaitl and McDavid, it makes sense. But everybody else, he shouldn't have paid as much as he did. Some of them were fine contracts, but otherwise, yeah, I think made a number of mistakes when it came to contracts and roster composition and stuff. So, yeah, and to have those two stars and to not be able to round out the roster with a good team. I know some people don't want to have to play in Edmonton because it's so cold and whatever, but to play with McDavid and Draisaitl, I'm pretty sure most people you could bring in. So, anyways, so just didn't think he did that great. Clearly from outcomes, it wasn't that bad, but probably should have been a lot better with the high-end people that he has had. And so, yeah. Anyways, so that's that. Nothing with suspensions. So Carrick was fined for slashing in game 2 of the final, but I mean, we're at the point where all that news doesn't really matter that much. Injuries, yeah, so some people are probable for start of the season, so nothing really all that significant. Goudreau was claimed by the Sharks from the Rangers. And that's a big enough claim where, I mean, his performance last season wasn't the best. Playoffs actually was pretty decent. But big enough where it's worth at least drawing attention to. So good for the Sharks, free guy. How much is he getting paid? 3.6. A couple of years left. So good for them. Signings, there I don't think was any major ones except for Hronek, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't speak about anything unless it's $5-ish million or more. So there's Hronek, and that is it, except for DeMello and Middlestad actually are new ones. Those just happened a couple days ago. So Hronek, 7.25 per for 8 years. That brings him to 34, which is a great age. He has a really good track record of performance in terms of productivity. 23-46, half a point, half a point, half a point, half a point, half a point per game. He is one of the most consistent offensive defensemen that are out there. So the fact that he left the Red Wings was a bit surprising for him. Maybe there's issues just with how well his game is rounded out. So, so there's that. But anyways, that would require greater analysis than what I can do. But nonetheless, 4.4, what he was making was a great contract given his productivity. And then, well, I mean, he's got a lot of minuses, so maybe he's not good defense. I don't know, because minuses don't necessarily indicate it could be just a bad team. But anyways, so based on his like productivity, he's definitely worth that cap hit if his defensive capabilities are at least, break even. So anyways, so he's worth the money. Maybe slightly on the high end. I would want to, if I in an ideal world, it'd be like 6.5 maybe, but it's so close that, and especially with inflation and that it's an 8-year contract and so on. In my opinion, I think it's a perfectly good contract. So, good signing, good job, smart pickup, assuming he continues his performance, which you can't guarantee, but good job there. DeMello, I think, was getting underplayed under different coaches. Like, I think Maurice. Was it Maurice that didn't play him enough? Somebody didn't play him enough. It might have been Maurice. Or it might have been the coach before him. I can't remember. But anyways, he's played well, and he always seems like he plays with Morrissey. Or at least previously did, and I don't know if he currently was. I can't remember. But anyways, so making 4.9. If you can keep up that like 25 plus points, then I'd say definitely that's a good contract, but I don't know for certain he will. That brings him to 35, reasonable age, and I know that he's good both ways. It's a plus 46, which is ridiculous. So I think a great signing. As a Jets fan, I'm happy with that. I think he deserves it. I think he's worth it. Again, maybe slightly higher than I would want to spend for 4.5. But yeah, and given that he was $3 million before, I think you could have maybe gotten away with 4.5 or 4. But clearly they didn't. So it mustn't have been possible. So that's that. Middle stat. He signed 3 years, 5.75, 57 points in 80 games. So lately, at least, has been consistently 50 some odd points. 5.75, I guess that's fine. He plays left wing and center. I mean, that's okay. Yeah, it's perfectly reasonable. It's kind of what you'd want to pay if you're going to pay that. But I don't know him too well. So long story short, I just don't know if I would have given him that contract. Maybe I would prefer a different player at that cap hit. But anyways, it's not bad. I'm sure. And then maybe I don't know enough about him, and he definitely is worth it. So I don't know. For performance, he's getting paid what he should be getting paid. So it's just how well-rounded he is, how useful he is everywhere else, that I don't know. So it's hard for me to comment more. Trades, there were a few since we last spoke. So we know about Markstrom for a first and Ball. Ball was a second-round pick, defenseman, 11 points in 82 games. Played World Junior. So a decent defenseman that Calgary's picking up. They're going to need a goalie. Vladar and Wolf is not, I don't think, going to be your answer. You never know, but because they're both young and could maybe do better. And because I know that Wolf wasn't he the best goalie in the AHL one year or something? Anyways, I know he did really, really well at least, but yeah, yeah, I don't know. Calgary's in trouble. They've been in trouble for a while, so we'll see what happens. And then that's going to really help the Devils. Now, as soon as you solidify their goaltending, I think that's going to make their team like so. The tandem of Markstrom and Allen is outstanding in my opinion. I think that's a great tandem. Defense is pretty good. Offense is pretty good. So now I think they've got a good shot at being a playoff team again. This past year, I had a feeling they were going to miss, and they did miss. So anyway, so I like that move there. First round pick for Markstrom, perfectly fine, especially given that there's some salary retained. So love the trade for New Jersey, Calgary. I mean, if you're rebuilding, I guess. I don't know. And it seems like they were going to have to move on from him anyways, just with relationship and stuff. So whatever. So Kemper for Dubois. That's a weird trade. Both players didn't really play that well for their teams. So after winning the Cup in Colorado, wasn't bad actually in his first year, and then just wasn't very good the next one. And then Dubois was just very unimpressive, 40 points with the Kings. And it seems like he just doesn't try hard enough, or only tries hard when he wants to, and then wants to be fussy with which team he plays for, and then doesn't play well enough. Yeah, just not a guy I would want on my team. So good for, in my opinion, LA to get rid of him. I think it's a way better trade for LA than it is for Washington, because Washington's going to be stuck with him. Whereas Kemper, how much does he have left on his contract? Three more years. Brings him to 37. So, well, maybe not that good, but his cap hit's not so bad. So at the very least, yeah, he could be a backup, way overpaid for a backup, but still reasonably acceptable, and definitely better than I think having the Dubois contract. So, really, I mean, it's the best that you could do for LA, I think. So, for that reason, I like it. For Washington, I mean, I don't know. It's like I've heard from some analysts, they were saying that they're really trying to get Ovechkin to win his the goal scoring record, and involving Dubois maybe might help them, but they're going to be completely blown up after that. I don't think they're going to have a good team for a while after they start losing all their older guys. But anyway, so that's that. That's a trade for signing rates, and I don't think anybody's significant there. Nothing there. Allmark going to Ottawa for Korpisalo, $1 million retained. So basically, Ottawa's paying $6 million for Allmark. First in Kastelik. So Allmark's a great goalie. Ottawa needs a goalie, and I don't know. They kept screwing up by getting rid of like Talbot, and anyways, they keep screwing up with their goaltending. That really could make Ottawa a playoff team. I really think they should be. I don't like their coach, so I don't know. We'll see what happens, and if they stay healthy and all that kind of stuff. I think, yeah, they definitely have a shot at the playoffs next season with goaltending solidified. So good for Ottawa. What they gave up, 5th round pick. He is a forward, so nothing of any significance there. Korpisalo is a decent goalie, kind of as a 1B kind of backup goalie. So for Boston, that's great to put with Swayman. They should be perfectly fine with him there. So I like that for Boston, and then getting the 1st round pick. And I guess it's because they couldn't afford Allmark, because they have to sign Swayman. So basically, yeah, that's telling us that they're going with Swayman. And then Korpisalo is going to be backup. So long as they don't overpay on Swayman, I think that's great. I just wonder what contract Swayman's going to get. And then getting a first round pick with basically Korpisalo is going to be not as good as Allmark probably, but close enough. So for me, I like that trade. A first and Korpisalo for Allmark, I'll take that with the lower cap hit and stuff. So I like it, yeah. Oh, mind you, you're... Wait, who took the... So Ottawa's retained the $1 million? Yeah, okay. Okay, so then, yeah, I did say that right. So anyway, so I like the trade, to be honest, for both teams. Maybe Ottawa gave up slightly too much, but yeah, I would say that Ottawa gave up too much, but it's not by any crazy amount, and you're getting a good goalie, a better goalie, and then Boston's getting what they need, a depth goalie and a first-round pick. So I think it's kind of good for both teams, but I like the trade more for Boston in this case. Lafferty, Mikheyev, nothing too crazy. First, moving up in the draft. Yeah, so nothing too crazy there for trades. That's about it for trades. Scores from the final, that 8-1 was crazy. But yeah, not really anything else to say other than what I've already said. Standings we don't need to cover. Yeah, McDavid wins the Conn Smythe, which was... I was pretty confident it was going to happen because Bobrovsky didn't play that great in the final, so it kind of had to go to McDavid. I don't think anybody else would have deserved it. Bouchard played quite well, though, in terms of points at least, but McDavid would have been more important, obviously. So, yeah, so those are the point leaders. Goals, it was pretty crazy how many goals Hyman had. 16 goals out of his 22 points. That's a lot of goals. So Hyman played pretty well in the playoffs. Nobody else really deserved it, I think, from Florida, so it was kind of a no-brainer that McDavid would win it. Nobody else had any crazy amount of goals. Verhaeghe's been quite good in the playoffs, too. Been pretty impressive. Reinhardt as well, but they gotta sign him. Nothing really to report about goaltending. It wasn't that great in the final. Skinner wasn't that great, but Bobrovsky made some important saves when he needed to, and I guess that's all that really matters, but it wasn't a goaltending series, that's for sure. And yeah, I think that is it. Oh, and I left a note that I was going to comment on the season in general. So yeah, I guess maybe I can pull up my predictions from the season. Just to talk about things more generally. So what did I have? So actually, you know what? I might as well share this so you guys can see it too. Oh, so I can move it over here. So yeah, Knights, Oilers, Kings did pretty much as expected. Flames not so good. Canucks were complete surprise. No idea how they did that. I don't know if they'll be able to make the playoffs again. Like, so everybody, now that they've made the playoffs, they're going to say, oh yeah, they have to make the playoffs next season. I don't know if they're a lock to make it. And likewise, the Kings, I don't know if they're going to be a lock to make it either. So next season, I don't know what's going to happen in that division, the Pacific. Kraken could be in the mix. Canucks. I think basically behind the Knights and Oilers, I think it's going to be really up for grabs there. But anyway, so more or less did as I expected this past season. Stars did great as expected. I thought they were going to go farther. I forget if I had them to win the cup, didn't I? No, I had Hurricanes and Stars with Hurricanes to win the cup. So, yeah, I thought they would have gotten further, but it was Edmonton that beat them. So, yeah. So it would have been a coin flip anyways. Blues, I think, missed the playoffs. I think they're due to be back. They're way too good of a team not to be in the playoffs, in my opinion. So I'm kind of surprised there. Avalanche did as expected. Jets kind of as expected. Predators overperformed, in my opinion. I don't know what's going to go on with the Predators. I still think that they're one of those bubble teams. Wild bubble team. I think the Blues, I don't know why they're not a lock for the playoffs. So if they don't make the playoffs or they're a bubble team next season, there's something going like where they need to make changes. But otherwise, as expected, Hurricanes, they should have done better than they did, especially with their trade deadline moves and stuff like that. Their depth was just far too good for them to not do better. I think they should have beaten the Rangers, but Rangers were good, so kind of as expected, I guess. Islanders, I keep expecting them to do better, but then they don't. Mind you, they switched coaches partway through, so with Waugh for the whole season, I would probably predict for them to do well next season. As I predicted for this past season, I think that's close to where they're going to sit next season, but of course we'll see. Penguins are in massive trouble with old players not being able to keep guys. I think the Penguins, and then I think Dubas is just no good. Sorry Dubas, but I think you're not good, and I think the Penguins are going to be a mess, and I think he's going to mess it up worse. He's going to probably have to... They're probably going to have to do a rebuild because he's not going to be able to retool it as he should. And then as a result, he's going to do a rebuild, and he's probably going to mess up on the rebuild if I was to predict how it's going to go in for Pittsburgh. So I really feel bad for Pittsburgh fans if it does turn out that way, but I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen. Rangers are going to be good next season. The fact that it sounds like they're going to trade Trouba is kind of crazy. Like, I don't know if I like Trouba as a player. He seemed to be trouble in Winnipeg, and then now the fact that they want to move him makes it seem like he's trouble there. And his cap hit, I think, was only $8 million, which is high for a defenseman. I think it's $8 million. Wrong screen. Where? Oh, I didn't want that. Rangers. Yeah, $8 million. Which is a reasonable cap hit for a player of his impact. Maybe his productivity was a bit low and has been too low for the time that he's been with the Rangers. But he's a captain. So there's some big disconnect between... There's something going on where they wanted more out of him. I thought his performance was better, so maybe he's not worth that $8 million. So it makes sense to trade him. And I think somebody would take on that contract. So I think it would be a smart trade. Where he would go, you'd want to get a defenseman, in my opinion, back for him, as long as they don't have anybody in development. I don't know their team depth that well, but switch him for another serviceable defenseman at a lower cap hit, and then add in some spending to some other players, and they're going to be a stellar team again, competing for the cup. So yeah, it just seems kind of odd in my opinion what's going on with him. So we'll see what happens. Otherwise, like I said, Devils are probably going to be competitive again next season. Capitals could be competitive. Flyers. Like I said, all those teams, Blue Jackets included, could be in a playoff spot. Penguins could come out. I don't think Rangers are going to come out. Islanders, I feel like, would stay. So then it's like a whole bunch of people for that last spot. And then Lightning, I don't know if they're going to be in that spot. So it's all up for grabs for the last couple spots in the East. Leafs did kind of as expected. Bruins, same thing. Panthers, same thing. Panthers did better than I expected, but in the regular season playoffs, I kind of expected them to do this well. Senators are going to be a better team with their new goalie. So yeah, it's going to be super tight. Red Wings are going to be a better team just with development, and you know that Yzerman's going to do some good things with the team because he always does. It seems like he does a really good job. So yeah, so most of my predictions, I forget what I was. I was like 14 for 16 or something like that for playoff spots, or maybe less. Anyways, did pretty decent for my predictions, and the season more or less went as expected, except for maybe the Canucks, Blues. Really, that's about it, I think, so from what I would have predicted. So anyways, so those are my thoughts on the season, and that's gonna be it for this one. And then, so moving forward, I think what I'm gonna do is recap news every 3 weeks, excluding busy time periods. So after July 1, I'll probably do a stream maybe a few days after free agency opens up and like the bulk of the moves are done. Then from there, it's probably going to be every 3 weeks for NHL news. I'll do my regular like posts throughout the week. Obviously without scores and injuries and stuff, I'll do more about signings, maybe on a daily or every second day basis. And then, yeah, otherwise, well, I mean, these streams don't take up much of my time anyways, so there's not really a major change. Just going to keep posting shorts with news and stuff. Like I said, mostly signings and trades through the off season. And I think in the off season, once every 3 weeks is probably a good time frame. During the season, it was fine. Maybe I'll do it more often at the start, once every 2 weeks at the start of the season, and then switch over to once every 3 weeks, maybe after the first month or so. I think that's what's going to go on. So yeah, not really any major changes. Just kind of continue what I've been doing. Most recently, at least in terms of frequency, content type, and all that stuff. So I do have to say I'm getting a bit tired of doing all the shorts and scheduling them in the morning because it takes up time. But so I'll maybe do it one more season, and if I don't like what I'm getting in terms of like new viewers to the channel, then I might stop after next season. But yeah, we'll play that by ear. That's a long time into the future anyways. So, yeah, and I'd like to stream. I always have so much to do. I'd like to stream more franchise mode, let alone be a pro, which I haven't done for a long time. So it's just tough to fit work life and other obligations with a hobby. So if you can get me more subscribers and views and stuff, then that way I can, make a bit of money from this, and then I can actually dedicate more time to it. That would be nice, but, not holding my breath. Probably going to give it one more season of, like I said, of the stuff that is more tedious, not as enjoyable. I mean, I don't mind talking about this stuff, but it's not franchise mode. It's just fun every single time. Be a Pro's not as fun, so that's why I don't do it as often. Yeah. So, anyways, that's kind of, I guess, like a status update. Yeah. So we'll see what happens in the off season. Probably a bunch of interesting signings, that's for sure. Gensel and stuff like that are all available. I forget who else, but there's going to be lots. Maybe I could have touched on that in this stream, but whatever. Anyways, we'll see who's available and who gets signed anyways. So it doesn't really matter if I tell you ahead of time who's going to be available. So that's it. Wrong side because I was looking at the screen. Cheer for the Netherlands. The Euro's on right now, so that's why the shirt's on. Hopefully they do better than they did in the group stage, that's for sure. Anyway, so that's it. Thanks for tuning in if you did, and thanks for tuning into streams throughout the season if you did as well, and likewise for everything else that you would have checked out. So that's it. So if you like the stream, hit the like button, share with your friends, subscribe, turn on notifications. So the channel homepage has upcoming streams on regular NHL content, nothing scheduled, but that's going to be after free agency. I'll do a stream. So after the draft, which is coming up in a day or two, I can't remember when it is. Or it's today? I forget what day the draft is. Anyways, maybe it's tomorrow. When is the NHL draft? Yeah, it's tomorrow. Okay. So, yeah, I won't do it after the draft because I know there's going to be a bunch of trades that are going to happen during the draft and stuff. So, but yeah, I'll wait till probably, like I said, maybe a few days into free agency, and we'll recap that, and I'll let you know. Like, I'll post that day and time on the channel homepage if you want to see that. For franchise mode, that schedule is in the About section of the channel. It runs Monday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern for approximately 8 hours. I owe a couple hours for this week because I started late. I'm going to do that tomorrow morning as long as everything goes well with scheduling and stuff. And then, yeah, that'll go over some of the off season, but so look out for that. I don't know what time I'll start, but tomorrow morning. Be a Pros whenever I have time or I feel like it. Don't have enough time and don't feel like it enough. So, yeah, so it'll happen sometime. Any comments, leave them in the comments. Suggestions likewise, and we'll see you guys next time.